My wife and I are considering trying to have children soon. I hear from her and from social media about how hard it is on the woman and how much the man has to step in and support. I am, of course, all about being there for my wife, but it sounds very unforgiving. Am I just hearing one side of the story? Story 1. It all depends. Some women have easier pregnancies than others. Some have it harder. Some babies are healthier, others more sickly. Some sleep terribly, some are basically a dream scenario for sleep. But what every child is a complication. Not in a bad way, just a new feature of life you have to coordinate around. Things as simple as running to the store to pick up something quickly get complicated when you have one or more tiny humans running around. The unfortunate reality is that childbirth, pregnancy, and even the infant stage for some babies are inherently unequal. The mother is going to, by definition, do everything when it comes to growing that baby. While you certainly don't have to do anything extra, I know I would have felt terrible if I didn't step up and do more so she could get more rest. That means doing the bulk of chores. That means pivoting meal plans. That means getting the cravings. That means going to all the appointments you can. That means planning and executing as much or as little as your partner would like regarding the nursery and planning. Then there are just extra curveballs. My wife had to be hospitalized for an entire month during her second pregnancy. I was suddenly a solo dad for a month, trying to juggle work, my older child's school schedule, Christmas plans, and making sure to visit my wife so she didn't feel alone and unsupported, but also taking time to let my child have some normal experiences. It took a lot of work and stress to make it all happen and be everything everyone needed. Birth itself is traumatic. Whether natural delivery or cesarean section, your partner is going to be affected. It's going to be scary, and again, it is entirely on her. Afterwards, she will be exhausted and, depending on the delivery method, probably unable to do much. She needs rest, so it's good to do what you can. Pick the baby up whenever it wakes so she doesn't have to lift it from the bassinet. Change all the diapers unless she wants the experience. Handle the paperwork and make sure you have good questions for the doctors. Get her food cravings. At home, it continues. If you decide on formula, great, you can help out a lot. But if she's breastfeeding, bad news, you're sidelined again. So wash the bottles, clean the messes, cook the dinners because she has important work to do with feeding and pumping. Your wife has a ton of natural, built-in responsibility that she can't abdicate to you. It only felt fair to me to take over every scrap of what I could so she could focus on the things I couldn't. We're men, and nature asks very little of us during this process. Some men are content with that very little ask, and unfortunately do very little to support their families. I've spoken to nurses at the hospital who had stories of new dads bringing game consoles to the hospital so they can play during the process. So yes, you'll definitely hear some one-sided stories about men needing to step up because there are guys who don't, and those stories will always lodge in people's minds. What is coming is a readjustment of responsibility, and I think what is expected of you is to adapt and shift those responsibilities to make it as even as you can, with the understanding that birth itself is not equal. It's rewarding, though. As scary and overwhelming as it all is, it's rewarding. My little girl comes sprinting to me when I get home, yelling, "Daddy," the whole way. We painted a wooden sword together and have sword fights in the living room where we take turns being the bad guy. She started asking questions about the world, and I've gotten to start teaching her things about it. My newer child has just started laughing, which is so special the first time you hear it. Life is different now, more complicated but better. Story 2. I am a father. It is very hard, much harder than you think or imagine. Private or hobby time is extremely rare for years, and that is assuming the baby is healthy. Story 3. You will have to be as much of a parent as her. How is this a question? You are not stepping in, and neither is she. You are being parents. Story 4. Red flag. Talking about being a father in terms of being there for your wife. That's not it. It's also not stepping in and stepping up. You are not coming into a situation to help save the day unless you are a bad father. That baby comes out and you are in it from the start, for yourself, for your child, for your wife, for your family. It is both as hard and not as hard. It is a massive adjustment. You have much less freedom, much less free time, and much less flexibility. There is nothing in the world that I love more than my children. I cannot really explain it. Remember being obsessed with someone at 13 years old? It is kind of like that all the time, except not gross, just that obsessive center of the universe feeling. Having children adds so much to my life, but it is not for everyone, and I did a reasonable amount of unattached stuff I wanted to do first. Story 5. I'm 51. All my children are grown and starting their own families. Being a parent is very challenging. Literally the most thankless job you will ever do. The first 5 years will be a massive wake-up call for both of you. Here is what to expect. No real sleep for the first 2 years. Many close calls with your child doing something that could potentially injure themselves. Plan on the sex life hitting a wall. She will be too tired or too focused on the baby, so you will feel neglected. Or you will both look at each other with some sense of disgust over the most petty things. You will both be cranky or moody a lot. Your fun days of partying will be long gone. You will not be able to relate to what your single friends are doing, or worse, you will start to envy them. Bodily fluids every single day, and if you are lucky, vomiting 2 to 3 times a month. This happens to everyone at some point. A lost bottle found with curdled milk 3 weeks later under your car seat. But one day, if you did everything right, if you were a good father to your children, and if you and your spouse were good to each other, you will both look back on these years with some sense of pride. Just do not look back with regrets. Story 6. Am I just hearing one side of the story? Yes and no. There is nothing quite like having your baby fall asleep in your arms or a toddler come looking for snuggles. It makes up for the late nights, sleep deprivation, and the mischief children can get into. The days are long, but the years are short. My distant stare is a combination of the good and the bad. I would do it again in a heartbeat. Story 7. It is hard because there is so much responsibility. You have to guide them without stifling them, encourage them while administering tough love, and let them fail no matter how much it hurts your heart. You have to put your children on a path to success. That is a challenge. Children are not born with a user's manual, so it feels like you are winging it at times. You will experience failures. But when you see your children accomplish things and become good people, it is worth it. Hope this helps a bit. Story 8. It's hard but not impossible. Life changes and you just have to be willing to accept it. Even though I do not have the freedom I once had, I love being a father. And as my children get older, more things are getting easier. Story 956 and father of 2 boys, 19 and 15. Being a father is 100% what you make it. My wife and I both work, at the time in opposite directions from the house. When it was time to put my oldest in daycare, which was located right next to her work, she emotionally couldn't handle dropping him off. So for the first week, I drove to her work, dropped him off at daycare, and then drove to my work. During rush hour, this was about a 2-hour trip. The company for which I worked went out of business a month before my second son was born. I stayed home with him for the first 10 months and also took care of the house. It was exhausting and the hardest I've ever worked, including when I was in my 20s and worked 2 full-time jobs, sometimes over 100 hours per week. I'd fall asleep holding my kid and jerk awake not knowing where I was. One of my best friends said he thought I was flying right on the edge of insanity. I changed careers before we had them so I could be around nights and weekends when they'd be home. Watching them learn pretty much everything is the best feeling there is, except possibly watching them succeed. The parents, men and women, who have a hard time are the ones who think they can keep their same lives, having a beer every night after work, playing video games for 10 hours on the weekend, working out 5 days a week, while just adding on the kids. It doesn't work like that. Your kid is your hobby now. Embrace that. Learn what's important and what's not. My youngest wore his hair in colored mohawks to first grade. So what? It doesn't hurt anything. My oldest insisted that his Star Wars robe was really a jacket and wore it everywhere he went for about 3 months at about the same age. We got stares, but again, so what? It didn't hurt anyone. How they treat others, being well-rounded, staying away from drugs, taking school and learning in general seriously, actual safety issues, and teen sex are all important. Most other things are not worth getting upset about. My sons are awesome. We raise them to make their own decisions and deal with the consequences of those decisions. They rock, and I love being a dad. It's the best thing I've ever done. Story 10. Okay, everyone, stand back. Dad advice incoming. It depends. Earlier years can be brutal, especially if you're not a jerk, and try your best to help your wife or partner as much as possible. God bless women who do this on their own. They need help, period. But then the challenges change, behavior and instilling values and morals. It isn't like installing an app. The biggest plus you can do here is to sit with your partner and lay down some rules to be united and supportive of one another. Also, you'll make many huge mistakes. You'll behave contrary to your values and your expectations of your child. Apologize. Normalize the fact that we're all human and that mistakes will happen. Apologizing is the first step to forgiving, learning, and moving on. I have apologized to my daughter many times. I tell her why I'm apologizing and identify the behavior that was wrong of me. Then I tell her she deserved better and that I am always working on being better at reducing that bad behavior. My child says, "Oh, it's okay." And I always correct the situation by saying it is not okay. Take note of my bad behavior, and that I'm taking steps to make sure she knows I love and respect her. Of course, now I'm still dad, but I'm slowly becoming more and more dad friend, too. She's my only child. She's perfect in every way, and I want to be in her life as long as I walk this earth. All that said, I still did fun things this whole time. Did I change a lot of diapers? Absolutely. Did I get vomited on? 100% and 100% too many times. I once even woke up from a deep sleep to grab an ice bucket in our hotel room to catch her projectile vomit. I even went to the hotel manager the next day, deeply ashamed, and offered to replace the now unsuitable ice bucket and sheets. They laughed and said it was okay. I spent uncounted hours on a medicine ball bouncing up and down to soothe my child so she could sleep and then go to work the next morning. This is hard, but when your child reaches certain rites of passage, certain life events, and they nail it, you cannot possibly be more proud. Lastly, I'll leave you with this. The two phrases you should share freely and often but with conviction so that they never lose their potency. I love you and I'm proud of you. Story 11. There are many secondary factors that influence your difficulty level. Are you financially stable? Can your spouse handle stress? Is your child healthy? Do you have a strong family support system? Some people say it is not that hard. Others say it is extremely difficult. Both are correct based on their own experiences. In my experience, it has been very difficult but highly rewarding. Story 12. I am not a father, but I have 3 sets of nieces and nephews and know plenty of fathers. I think a lot of the factors are personal. Are you and your wife equals? Not in the sense of I work and she does the housework. Having a child means you split time with the child in half, split housework in half, split sleeping in half, all while working full-time. If everything is already split evenly, then it will be an easier transition than if it is not split evenly. Are you okay with forgoing your personal hobbies and alone time? Are you okay with losing time with friends? For some people, it is a no-brainer. Of course, they are raising a person. It is natural to give up their own pleasures and interests for their child. It is discipline. Are you a disciplined individual? For me, I value my personal time, I like my hobbies, and I genuinely struggle if I do not sleep through the night. For that reason, I do not think I could be a father, at least right now. It may change in the future. If I got anyone pregnant, I would do everything in my power to be the best father I can be. But I am afraid I may become bitter over a long time. My brother-in-law is a father, but between looking for a job during the COVID-19 pandemic, taking care of his son, and trying to be a good spouse, and then dealing with the death of his father a few years ago, he could not handle it. He ended up moving out of the country and has not seen his son since. When my sister's father passed away, he did not come back to help with his son. He stayed out of the country, so take some time to reflect. Sit yourself down and truly understand that becoming a father will be work. It will be tiring. It may put a strain on your relationship with your wife. Sit with all the potential downsides, and then think about raising a child, raising your own flesh and blood, raising somebody who will go to school. You will teach your values to them. You will help them navigate life. You will help them try not to make the same mistakes you made. You will be their parent like your parents were to you. Does that sound good to you? Does the good outweigh the negatives? Then I think you have your answer. Story 13. It's not hard, but it can be difficult at times. All my boys are now over 21 and out of the house, and by all accounts, they are doing well. My advice as a father is, 1. It's all about the children first. That means you have to put their needs before yours. Not all their wants, just their needs. Be a part of your child's life. Change diapers, stay up when they are sick, play with them, talk to them. Be more than just the person who shows up at the end of the day. Your life will be better, and so will theirs. Besides, how else will you get stories like the diaper blowout of 24 months, where the child produced an incredible amount of mess? I remember being in a tiny bathroom with the sink overhanging the toilet, trying to clean up an extraordinary mess from my son. I tell my sons every time I see them or talk to them that I love them. They were never in doubt as kids or adults. This protects them from listening to people who might wish them harm. They know what love is and what it is not. Be open and talk to your children, then listen to what they say. Unless they are being seriously foolish, do not be angry with them. This lets them know they can talk to you about important things. Correct and redirect them to a better way. You do not have to be perfect. There is no single right way to raise a child. Different approaches work for different children. Raise them to be as independent and responsible as you can. That way, they are not helpless. Finally, being a father is one of the few things I have done where I really mattered, and what I did mattered. Good luck. Story 14. I mean, it's not easy, but I very much enjoy it. I still get time for hobbies and other activities. When the kids sleep, my wife and I give each other time to go do something by ourselves if we want. Story 15. It's very hard initially, like with babies. I was fortunate to marry someone who wanted a traditional lifestyle, so she handled 90% of the baby care while I earned money. Fast forward several years, it's incredible. After children pass the age where they constantly try to hurt themselves, it's amazing. My kids play video games with me. We play basketball. We talk about movies and books. They have their own hobbies and interests. We share memes and have even started trying out Dungeons and Dragons together. It's truly indescribable. The difficulties in the beginning are 10 million times worth it. I can't imagine not having children at this point in my life. Story 16. It depends. Most fathers are lightly involved, and that behavior is usually encouraged by both society and their significant other. This makes being a father not very challenging because it prevents developing a strong bond with the child. Having sleepless nights and being overwhelmed with house chores is not difficult. I held my son many nights while my wife was sleeping and had no idea he woke up during the night. Every single moment was worth it. The difficult part is when you develop a strong connection and things end with divorce. In most cases, you are left aside. Story 17. No. Is it challenging at times? Sure. Is everyone capable of being a parent? No. If you are mature enough to accept that you no longer live for yourself, then you will be just fine. All of the challenges that come with being a parent are outweighed by all the good things that come with it. My advice is do not have children until both of you are 100% on board and ready mentally, financially, and willing to make sacrifices. Father of 3 would not change anything. Story 18. It's hard, but it's not that hard. Does your free time go to the wayside? Yes, but you can find moments to get to yourself. Sure, it's not hours of you time, but that's what being a parent is. My son is 11 months old. He's still taking 2 naps a day, so when I'm home with him, I have Fridays off. I use his nap time to focus on my hobbies, clean, or, if my wife is home from work, try to get some alone time. It just depends on how the day is going. You may take on a new mental load that you haven't had prior to your child being born. You may not. It depends on you. I'm a very hands-on father, but that's my choice. I wanted to be a dad. And because of my wife's work schedule, it allows me to get some time with my son where it's just the 2 of us. The change can be challenging, but it's been welcome overall. Mindset. After reading through the comments, I'm feeling grateful. Our sex life is pretty much back to where it was. 2 to 3 times a week, maybe once a week, depending on how things are going. We got our son on a sleep schedule when he was 4 months old, and excluding teething, we've had a handful of nights where we were going back and forth trying to get him down without much luck. He sleeps through the night with no issue. I think being able to help with cooking, cleaning, and childcare has made things really good for both of us. We're not perfect. Sometimes one of us gets frustrated with the other for various reasons, but we've always come back to meet in the middle and remind ourselves that we're a team. When her needs are met, mine are met. When mine are met, hers are met. It's a two-way street. Of course, our son always comes first, but not at a sacrifice to ourselves. At least we try to keep it from feeling like that. Story 19. My daughter is close to 1.5 years old. This is hard. My old life is gone. Basically all of it. No more alone time with my wife unless maybe we get the baby to sleep on her own for an hour or two. Even then, we're both too burned out and exhausted to do much besides fall asleep watching TV. No more making my own decisions like what or when to eat, when to sleep, or when to wake up. I wake up throughout the night to deal with the baby. No more time for hobbies. I used to play video games a lot. Now it's maybe one day per month for a few hours. I've been wanting to get back into fitness lately, but there's no time for that either. All of my spare time, when my wife and baby don't need me, must be spent doing chores around the house or running errands. We're lucky to see our friends once per month. I worked overtime last night and got home at 1 a.m. Instead of going straight to bed since I had to be back at work soon, I had to get my daughter's things ready for the next day and then try to get her back to sleep because she woke up screaming from teething again. I'm exhausted. I'm also constantly worried about everything. I worry that I'm not enough, not doing enough, making mistakes, failing my family in some way. This is hard. It's also amazing. Every time she says dada or daddy and runs into my arms, it's like a hit of the best drug you can imagine. I cry from pride and happiness just thinking about her. The hard work is at least very rewarding. Story 20. Life doesn't get harder. You have a child. The child is now your life. Caring, changing, feeding, bathing, and dressing are all part of the process. It is tiring and relentless at times, but you have something that will take all the love you have and radiate it back at you with a grin, a flutter of eyelashes, or a warm pink cheek when you kiss them in their sleep. Parenting properly is about love and sacrifice, and these are neither easy nor hard work at all. This is what love is. All the best. Story 21. Being a father is one of the 3 hardest things you will ever do in life. It is also one of the 3 most rewarding things you will ever do. There are no true words to describe how amazing it is. The valleys can be low sometimes, but the peaks are much higher and more abundant. I would not trade it for anything in the world. Story 22. Father of 3 children, including one who was premature and another with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. No family support. It is very hard. Story 23. There are only 3 types of people who say having children is easy. 1. People with no children. 2. Poor parents. 3. Excellent parents. Number 3 is rare. Everyone else who has children struggles to be a good parent and likely thinks they are an awful parent. Having children motivates you to be a better person for them. It requires a great deal of introspection and difficult decisions, not only for your improvement but for theirs as well. Story 24. I have been a father for 10 years. I am the preferred parent and spend the most time with my daughter. I am not sure I would call it hard. After 10 years, it is just kind of normal, you know? I am sure it is going to get a lot harder when she becomes a teenager. Story 25. My son turned 1. It is not hard as in difficult, but hard as in a lot. It is a large burden. It is thankless so far. Story 26. Having children will add stress to your life and your relationship with your wife. It is a life-changing event, and nothing will ever be the same. Just remember, children want your love and your time. You have to cherish every moment along the way because you will miss these times after they have passed. Invest in them, and the rewards will be plentiful. Coach their baseball team, teach them how to fish, whatever you like to do, they will too. I meet my 2 sons almost every Friday for happy hour. It is our time together, and I feel blessed. Watching them grow into adults is the most rewarding part of the entire experience. Your life will never be the same once you become a father, but that is actually a good thing. Story 27. You become a meal delivery and waste removal system. Your needs and desires do not matter when the baby needs something. It stresses the female body a lot. After birth, there is a mix of highs and lows, anger and depression, and sometimes even psychosis due to hormones rushing through the body. If she is lucky, she can have a cesarean section. Once the child starts moving, everything in the house gradually raises in height relative to how high they can reach. Everything they touch goes into their mouth. However, you have a little person whom you can guide to avoid the mistakes your parents made. Someone who thinks you are the coolest person in the world until they reach their preteens. Then you become someone who knows nothing. For me, it was a reason to get my life together, to stop partying and being irresponsible. It gave me a reason to work and live well, to set a good example. To not be a bad husband to my wife because I did not want my son to learn that behavior and repeat it. It gave my life purpose beyond just working, eating, and sleeping every day until I died. My son is now 30, married, and seems to be a good person who treats his wife well and may have children someday. Story 28. Social media does not reflect real life in any way, shape, or form. The experience of being a father is specific to the individual. Story 29. A buddy of mine said, "Being a parent is easy. The qualifications are really low. But being a good parent is hard, though no harder than anything else you want to do well." Literally billions of men across tens of thousands of years have figured it out. You will be fine. Story 30. Being a parent is difficult. Being a dad is different from being a mom. Not sure if it is any harder. My kids are 17 and 13, the last two were twins, so I can speak confidently about raising little kids. Teens are a whole different set of challenges I am still working out. But me looking like a biker with a face that always seems angry has kept the boyfriends in line. Social media is a mixed bag when it comes to fatherhood. But here is how I see it. Even when it is exhausting and thankless, being an involved dad is completely worth it. Daughters love their dad. I still get evening snuggles, they still tell me they love me, and sometimes they even ask me questions before they ask mom. Pro tips: learn how to fix stuff. They break everything. Maybe try woodworking. I make them things and they treasure them. Tell them you really love being their dad. It is a way of saying, "I love you." That hits differently. And if they ask you to do something with them, move heaven and earth to make the time to do it. Always be someone they can count on because sometimes you are the only one they can. Lastly, tease them and let them tease you back. Mom calls them sweetheart and darling. Call them my little stinkers. It balances out any tendency toward princessing. Story 31. It was the easiest and most natural thing I have ever done. My self-value skyrocketed. My love for my wife and life itself increased. I never had a doubt. I had fears, but I was sure I would be able to overcome them all. I gave up what I had to give up without a second thought. One caveat: I had material resources as well as time and attention to spare. It was a good time in my life. If that had happened 20 years earlier, it would have been much worse. Story 32. Nothing worth having comes without some kind of fight. Sure, there are hard moments, but overall, it is fantastic. Story 33. I have always been confused by this. I have two children who have graduated college. It was work, but truly a labor of love. If you do not like thinking of your loved one's needs before your own, I guess it is harder. It is very time-consuming, and all your big decisions are based on us, not me. Where to live, where to work, vacations, free time. I just dove in headfirst, and it was awesome. I only give one piece of advice to anyone about anything. Being a parent, you get back 1,000 times the energy you put in. If you put in negative energy, you get that back. If you put in positive energy, you get that back too. In summary, my opinion is that it is work, but it is not hard. Story 34. I have 2 of my own children and 3 stepchildren that I never anticipated or thought I would end up with. But they have all surpassed me in their own way. Just being there with them, Teaching them and celebrating them is amazing. My only advice is to focus on the good and not consider the negatives if you are ready to start your own family. It is much harder to remember the good times than to recall when you lacked patience or time. Give your all to them. Give everything you can to help them grow into adults you would be happy to follow or work alongside. It takes a lot of work, but those who constantly emphasize the negatives of being a parent are not in it for the right reasons, because even on the worst day, I would die for each one of them. Story 35. Hey, original poster, how would you compare what you learned from the responses here to your assumptions beforehand or to real-life couples you know with children? Story 36. Being there for your partner starts the second she becomes pregnant. Pregnancy is often extremely difficult. She is literally growing a human, experiencing sickness for months and fatigue at the start. Once the baby arrives, your time is no longer your own. Every phase has its challenges and joys, and each joyful moment has outweighed the difficult ones so far. Communication with your partner is absolutely key in parenthood. We have a 5-month-old, a 4-month-old, and a 3-month-old, and I would not change anything for the world. We are already discussing having our 4th child. Becoming a parent is like having a piece of your heart walking outside your body. Story 37. Yes, it's a lot for dad. I'm a woman, but I know for my partner it has been hard. Just helping pick up slack, experiencing financial strain, adjusting to new family dynamics, dealing with a moody wife, and finding intimacy hard to fit in. It gets easier, but will never be the same. That is the whole point of having a baby and family. Just enjoy your bit of freedom, get plenty of rest, and go with the flow. When the baby arrives, the first month is a bit chaotic. It slowly gets easier, and then the baby will be 6 months old in no time, starting to be more fun and engaging. When they are a year old and walking, it will be your time to shine. The baby will be much more fun and steady. Good luck. Story 38. I am a 47-year-old first-time father. My child is almost 4 months old. My wife is 41. It is hard in some obvious aspects. However, it is amazing and a lot of fun in others. Our child has allowed us to sleep after the first month, which is really appreciated. I do not regret it at all. I am so happy to have my son. That said, I am really glad I waited. Story 39. It absolutely upends your life. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely adore my daughters and can't see life without them. But everything changes once the children are involved. We were blessed with twins right from the start. I still joke about having post-traumatic stress disorder from that first year with them. Instantly having 2 more mouths to feed and take care of is a lot. Double the food, double the diapers, double the health insurance premiums, doctor appointments, illnesses, crying, and so on. I don't have experience with a single child to compare it to, but it did not feel manageable to go out and have fun with them in the world until they were about 2.5 years old. Now at 4, it's great, but I still feel like I barely have time for myself, time to pursue hobbies, or work a second job to earn some extra income. It's just really hard to manage it all and have any energy left for yourself at the end of the day. Story 40. It's the hardest thing I have ever done, but also the most rewarding thing I have ever done, and I am loving every second of it. I say that as someone who was indifferent about having children until I had one. I do not blame anyone who does not want children because, yes, it is hard, and I feel the world is becoming a more difficult place to raise a child. Knowing what I know now, it has been an experience I would never want to miss. Yes, you get far less time to do the things you might want to do, and your priorities change completely, but you do not care and embrace it because you love that little version of yourself so much. Having children with the right person goes a long way in making it a better experience too. Story 41. Being a father is very difficult. My life does not really begin until 7:30 to 8 o'clock at night when the children go to bed. It is an exercise in patience and selflessness. However, it is overwhelmingly rewarding to watch your child grow and do things you have taught them. Watching your children be successful is better than any accomplishment I have ever achieved. Story 42. It's hard in a different dimensionality than you are used to. There is a lot of bad or misleading information about how to be a good parent. What is good is also debatable. Does it mean that your children are happy? Or does it mean that your children are successful? Those goals are not the same. Despite not knowing what you are supposed to be doing, you will be wrong a lot. It is not like a video game where everyone starts from the same place and you can optimize your decisions. Everyone starts in a different place, and sometimes it feels like you are drowning in constantly needing to make impactful decisions without any warning or time to think. Also, parents do not get sick days, you work through that. Despite all this, your children will be your greatest achievement in life, and nothing else really comes close. Story 43, yes, but it is worth it. Their happiness is your happiness. However, you no longer have your own life. You exist to support them. Story 44, it's as hard as your kids are. Every kid is different. I have a sweet one and a wild child. Had we stopped at the sweet one, life would be easy mode. However, the second one is very active and needs constant attention. The only thing that no one warns you about is the high cost of childcare. You are basically going to be working to pay for childcare for their first 4 to 5 years until they can get into school. Story 45. No, it is not hard at all as long as you are sure you are ready for it. I was 36 when my son was born and, as many say, the greatest and only joy of my life. Story 46. I have a nephew and many honorary nephews and nieces. Nothing about parenthood seems easy for either parent. Sure, as the child gets older, things seem to get a bit easier, but I cannot imagine it ever being simply easy. Do you have people close to you with whom you can discuss parenthood? I think that would be your most beneficial resource rather than internet clips. I would look to parents of children in high school and younger, not your own parents. Times have changed, and the new struggles must be very different from those 10 to 20 years ago. Story 47. Did not say you were not a good mother. It was an overall statement. If both parents are in agreement, being a father or mother is not as difficult as social media portrays it. This addresses the original question. Having both the mother and father working is more difficult. Story 48. Record anything on regular television or cable you want to watch because after work it's Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, ballet lessons, doctor's appointments, school functions, and more. Sleep whenever you get a chance because nighttime is for high fevers, lots of vomiting, diarrhea, and nightmares. Forget buying things for yourself because there are uniforms, class trips, school lunches, and other expenses. Is it hard? What do you think? Is it worth it? It is the best thing I have ever done in my life. Story 49. Probably just one side. Some parents make it out to be a nightmare. Probably depends on your partner and your baby. It is not easy and you will have to make some sacrifices, but look at all the people with 2 or more kids. I would say it is most of them. If it was that bad, I do not know why they would have more. Have you ever had a puppy? It is kind of like that. Story 50. Yes, parenting is difficult. It is expensive, stressful, exhausting, time-consuming, frightening, and challenging. It is also one of the most rewarding things you will ever do. Story 51. The funny thing about being a parent is that, yes, it is tough. You have to shift your focus from what you want to do to what we can all do together, which can be an abrupt change in life, especially with the first child. Many things will be different, and you will have to make certain sacrifices. Nobody drives a minivan because they want to, but they are very practical. However, there is simply nothing in the world that I would change, and it is the best part of life. Logically, this makes no sense to me, but it is how I feel. Story 52. Very subjective answer. I think it is all about what you put into it. Some are more engaging than others. Story 53. It is not hard at all and extremely satisfying, better than any hobby you have ever had and will likely forget about for the upcoming several years. Story 54. It's hard, but not in a conventional way. Women have it hard through this, but any decent man takes on a lot of worries that are never realized or even acknowledged. We handle an amazing amount of stress related to stability, trying to ensure the household is financially sound while also being a father. I'm not starting a gender fight, as I know women can do this too, but when there are 2 adults in the room, one is taking care of the kid's immediate needs, and the other typically makes sure life doesn't fall apart and that a standard of living is maintained to prevent the other from having to worry about that too. It's thankless work and requires more effort than anyone thinks. Granted, there are a lot of bad men, so I'm probably speaking for myself. I work far more than I should or ever wanted to, and worry more than I ever did, just to maintain what we had before the child. The economy has declined, which does not help at all. Story 55. Father of 3 with a 4th on the way. Extremely difficult. I love children, and my wife loves children. That is why we keep challenging ourselves. It is the most meaningful work you will ever have. They have made me a better person and more motivated than ever before. My career has actually skyrocketed since having children. Story 56. Nothing is neither as hard nor as easy as social media makes it out to be. In fact, nothing is as social media makes it out to be. Story 57. Some days you want to stab yourself in the eye with a burning stick. Some days you are the burning stick. Other things are great, and you cannot believe the walking sperm drove you that crazy at any point. Story 58. It's the hardest thing you will ever do. Billions have gotten through it, so relax. I was a reluctant father early on. I cannot imagine having missed out on it now, though. It really is something. Story 59. To be honest, being a dad, the parenting part was much easier than television, movies, popular media, and so forth made it seem. I ended up getting sole custody of my son when he was about 8 years old. The family court aspect of being a parent and fighting a custody battle was extremely difficult and expensive. But being a dad to my son was and still is the most fun and rewarding experience of my life. He is 26 now and has launched into his life, but we are still best friends and talk once or twice a day. He did very well in high school. He was popular, served as student body president, earned only 1 grade less than an A, played sports, participated in clubs, was active in his youth group, and nearly maxed his SAT scores. He received a 4-year scholarship to an Ivy League school and is about to start a PhD program at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Maybe I got really lucky, but there were only about 6 months when he was around 14 years old when I had any difficulty with him. I believe some key parts of being a good parent are: 1. You have to make it fun for yourself. When we were still married and later as a single parent, we would joke with him all the time in a loving way. This was hilarious for all of us and made him less sensitive to others, especially kids at school teasing him. I was bullied throughout school and didn't want him to experience that. My parents did nothing to teach me how to respond to teasing, which made me overly sensitive and caring too much about what people thought. I spent countless hours explaining the reasons behind everything to him. No one did that for me growing up, and I felt it was very important to have those discussions repeatedly. Why is it important to believe in God? Why is it important to get good grades? Why are some people mean? Why does math work the way it does? The list is endless. You have to be willing to answer those questions over and over without frustration. I loved doing that. Make them brave. I constantly had him approach people and start conversations, asking questions. He had to do it by himself while I watched from a distance so he felt safe. I grew up shy and scared and didn't want him to be that way. He is not shy now. I also made him do many challenges, such as wearing a feather boa to the grocery store with me without reacting to people's looks or comments. He eventually created his own challenges to care less about what others think. Repetition is the mother of skill. I don't know how many hundreds or thousands of hours I went over multiplication tables, reading books, sounding out words, drawing maps of the world, the United States, and other countries, throwing a football, lifting weights, and more with him. For a child to truly understand something, it doesn't take just a few times or 10 times. It takes hundreds or thousands of repetitions. You must be willing to invest that time. I found it rewarding but time-consuming. I wouldn't describe it as hard, though. Failure is not only good but should be sought out and praised. When he was probably 5, I had him read and report on the book Failing Forward by John Maxwell. From then on, he constantly sought opportunities to fail. We also incorporated the United States military's focus on attention to detail after missions, learning from failure, into this idea. To this day, he likes to fail. Paradoxically, he is very successful. In my opinion, children and people in general need to have faith. In our case, that faith is Christianity. There must be a reason everything makes sense, the ultimate why. A life lived nihilistically does not provide a strong foundation for success. From the time he could barely talk, We talked endlessly about spiritual topics, the big whys. We went on mission trips and saw people in much worse circumstances than ourselves. It is important that kids understand they are on Earth to contribute and make a difference. Anyway, I loved and love being a parent. My only regret is not having more children. For much of the time raising him, I had almost no money, largely due to having to pay for attorneys during the custody battle. I couldn't pay for trash service, for example, so we went out on missions at night to dump our trash in dumpsters at local malls. I tried to make that fun, but it was embarrassing inside. I often had to skip paying bills. My bank account usually had less than $100 in it. When he was born, his crib was a cardboard box for the first couple of months. Sometimes I didn't have money to buy food. I ended up having to declare bankruptcy. I usually had 2 and sometimes 3 jobs just to get by. That part of being a parent was hard. Story 60. My kids are older now, and everything has been covered. It is a hard road, full of service and meaning. It is like your life before children has ended and been replaced. It is a much better existence, but not an easy one. Story 61. It is very hard. Work hard your entire life. My child grew up, finished college with 0 student loan debt, and is moving 2 hours away for a job on Friday. It is tearing my heart out. This will dramatically change the nature of your relationship with your partner. Story 62. Being a parent is much tougher than I thought it would be, often for unexpected reasons. It is also filled with a lot of fun and laughter. However, it is really hard work. Story 63. If you think being a parent isn't hard, then you aren't doing it right. You could be the best parent in the world and still feel like you are absolutely messing it all up. Story 64. It is definitely a lifestyle change. Things you used to do just will not be a possibility anymore. Others you used to do frequently will be a rare treat. All that money you are used to spending on fun stuff will be gone, and for a while, bills will be a struggle. Your wife will be stressed out, and you will be stressed out, and it can be difficult at times. Kids can be challenging, and you will be learning as you go, but you will figure it out. Children are not babies forever. They are not toddlers forever. It gets easier quickly. Then they are grown suddenly. If you are actually planning, you are ahead of most. Story 65. I think it depends on the child. I have a 16-month-old, and there have been hard moments. Sleep deprivation the first few months put you on a really short fuse when the baby won't stop crying. There are tantrums over food, tantrums over not being allowed to do something, and so on. Despite that, I don't think it's particularly hard. The Reddit dad community is full of devoted fathers, and many say it's hard or it's only hard for the dads who are putting in the work. But I disagree. I put in a lot of time with my child, and I think for as long as he has been able, he has chosen me as the preferred parent. He wants me to hold him and sit on the couch and cuddle with me. I don't neglect or ignore him at all. I say this not having gone through the teenage years yet and definitely expect those to be hard. What is hard is not parenting a child. It is juggling parenting with adult responsibilities in life. You still have a spouse with whom you need to maintain a relationship, and even if you have an easy child like I do, it changes the relationship. You find you show less affection to each other than before, may talk less about non-child topics, and notice more small annoyances than before. I think even the best relationships experience that between partners, unfortunately. What is also hard is just staying on top of life. You still have parents to visit, a household to maintain, chores to do, and people you want to socialize with. Then there are all the stressful things that happen in life, but with children on top of it. Ailing parents, stress at work, job loss, health scares. Personally, I find having a child mentally or physically tiring sometimes, but I would not call it hard. You need to keep them alive, happy, healthy, and well-developed mentally and emotionally, but you do not need to be on top of them 24/7. You just need to be present. Toddlers are happy having playtime to themselves and being around other people. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.